Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of the daily struggles of an INTJ. I don't really remember what I said in the first video, but I know I left off on the topic of emotions. I'm not going to talk about emotions yet. I actually recorded that earlier today, and you're going to notice a tonal difference in the way that I express emotions to what I'm going to talk about right now, which is the topic of energy and the lack of energy that an INTJ has. Guys, if you're an INTJ, I think you understand this. We lack energy when it comes down to the real world. When what we have to do is internal, when it's just thinking, when it's researching, when it's problem solving, easy. I could do that nonstop. I could do that every day and I won't get tired. But if I have to go outside, if I have to set up something in the sensory world, if I have to cook every single day just to be alive, that's difficult. That is tough. I had this conversation with my ISFJ friend. She loves to cook. And I straight up told her that if there was a pill that I can eat every day that tastes just as good as real life food, that gives me all the nutrients, I'd take it. And I'm not taking it because I don't like eating food. I'll take it because I am so lazy when it comes down to procuring food, to cooking food, that I'd rather have something that's easier, something that I could just get done with, you know? I've said this in my video about extrovert sensing before. There are nights where I go to sleep hungry because I'm so lazy. I'd rather not leave my room. I'd rather not drive to whatever fast food place. I'd rather just be still and listen to my stomach growl until I fall asleep. It's not something that I'm proud of because it probably has negative effect on my body, but it's something that I do. When it comes down to planning, INTJs have this stereotype of, oh, we're always planning the future. We're always planning this and that, this and that. But we don't think about the sensory part of it. When we're thinking about the sensory part of it, that's when it gets stressful. I know there are certain things that I want to do, and theoretically, they have a sensory component, but it's still somewhat theoretical for me. It's very difficult for me to tell people I don't want to continuously do something. I don't have the energy to do it because it doesn't make sense for them. For them, especially sensory users, they get energy from doing the thing. I lose energy from doing the thing. It actually causes me a lot of stress to have to wait to do the thing. If I need to do something, I'd rather do it now. If that something is later in the day, later in the week, later in the month, guys, it causes so much stress. I mean, even with my group of friends that I love and adore, these are the people that have kids. I'm uncle to a lot of their kids, and they're going to be auntie and uncles to my kids. I still stress out hanging out with them. And it's not necessarily them per se, it's the idea of being in a group setting with a bunch of people that stresses me out. If you're aware of cognitive function, extroverted sensing is the fourth function placement for an INTJ, and that causes us to struggle. One of the cause is that extroverted sensing has a people component to it. It's the people component of wanting to be fun to be around, to create an experience, and it could be a negative experience, but as long as it's an experience that you guys can enjoy, like something that you could think back and laugh about, then it's an experience. I don't think I'm fun to be around in a group setting. And sometimes I overcompensate. I don't know if it's just a me thing, but other ITJs, let me know if you've done this before too. There's a scene in the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. One of the main character, played by Julia Stiles, she's an INTJ. She goes to a party, she gets really drunk because someone tells her to loosen up, and then she just goes hog to the wall. I do that all the time. I've said this before in my other videos. Extrovert sensing or dealing with the sensory world feels like a drug. It feels like I'm high. And that high has a hard come down. Huge high when I'm in the moment, huge high when I'm doing things and I'm having a good time. And I've noticed that whoever I'm doing it with is having a good time as well. Because, that's something that I fear that I can't bring to the table. The next few days, I just crash the fuck out. Most people are operating in this world with fully charged batteries. I feel like an INTJ, we're at like 25%, 50%. The entire day, I'm trying to conserve enough energy so that I could do things that I want to. Energy is constantly being depleted just by living, just by breathing. It's a huge issue in life in general. In order to be healthy, you have to work out or at least be active. If you have friends, you have to see them or at least put an effort to do things that they want to do. If you're in a relationship, you have to show up daily in order to make sure that the other person feels seen and heard. If you're a manager, you have to create an atmosphere so that other people feel valued and that you're seen and they feel seen as well. If you're a parent, you have to be with the kids every single day to make sure that they're happy. If you're a pet owner, you have to either walk your dog or, pet your cat or your bird. I don't know if you pet birds, but pet your bird if that's what they want. I know I'm complaining a lot. I know this sounds like I'm complaining about the dumbest shit, but that's exactly how it feels. To be human is to do all those sensory activities, but it's so difficult with this lack of energy that I wake up with. I read this issue plenty of times from INTJs or INFJs because INFJs have extrovert sensing on their fourth position as well, where people don't go on vacations because they don't think they need to. I personally don't feel like I need to go to many places in order to experience it, but I'm also aware that when I do put myself in those places, I have a great time. Tying this issue with being social at work, you have to like your coworkers, you have to spend time with your coworkers. At home, you have to like your family, you have to spend time with your family. In relationships, you have to show your relationship partner that you want to spend time with them. It's just so easy to ignore the real world because I know it's real, but is it really? I've said this multiple times and people still laugh at me for saying this. My head, my imagination feels more real than the real world itself. People complain about me lacking energy all the time. INTJs, I get it, dude. But there are the moments where I need to engage with the sensory world. Moments where it's like, unless we do something, I'm gonna go crazy. And that's something I notice with my INFP older sister. We hang out occasionally, and I've noticed that, and this goes down to cognitive function. INTJs, extroverted thinking, higher up in our function stack. Extroverted thinking is the lowest of the four top functions for an INFP. I noticed that I don't enjoy using being productive when I'm trying to relax. But I've noticed that my INFP sister, when she has time to relax, she likes being productive. It's a funny clash. It's not too much of an issue because, if she gets in that mode, I just have to tell her, hey, I'll do it tomorrow or something. And it's relatively easy usually whenever I need to help her with something. But it does come down to energy. Like, I really don't have the energy to do it because I didn't allocate enough energy throughout the day in order to do that. And I really do mean it when I say allocate energy. Energy is a finite resource that I have to make sure I have for certain options or for certain things I need to do. If I don't have it, I need to take a nap, I need to recharge, I need to do something else. If you've been watching my channel for a while, my oldest brother is an ESFP, and he's one of the best persons I know. It took him forever, 40 years, to realize that I needed to recharge throughout the day in order to keep up with him. I remember this one day where we were hanging out. He lives out of state, so whenever we hang out, it's a treat. We went to do something, and when we came back, I had to go to a room to recharge because I now only have 15 minutes in order to do another social event with the rest of the family. When he saw me come out, he was like, "Oh, you were recharging, weren't you?" I'm like, "Yes, dude." He was like, and he just laughed because that's something that he doesn't need to do. He's recharging when he's around people. I've said this in my other videos as well. When I was at work, when I used to work, it was very difficult to see people hang out during lunch because I just didn't have the energy to do it. And people saw that as a snub, as if I felt like I was too good. And it cascaded into, just being left out of a lot more things purely for the fact that I didn't have energy, not necessarily because I didn't want to engage with them. I thought they were really cool people. I like what they talked about, but it was just at that point, at that moment in time, my energy was low. I personally think that this next topic is really funny because people associate being a fun caregiver to being an extroverted caregiver, as if in order to be fun, you have to physically be able to do stuff 24/7. That's not true. That is absolutely not true. I have been an uncle for most of my life, and I've noticed I developed my own way of being a great uncle. It doesn't have to do with being physical and going out and then playing football, catch, do dress up or doll with them, which I do on occasion if I feel like that's what the child really wants. You can have an emotional and mental connection with the child that they appreciate just as much as a physical connection. Which I think is a good segue into the topic of relationships. There's an INFP that commented on one of my videos before, and that INFP said INTJs are great, A little boring, but great. I get that comment a lot. I get told that I'm boring, which, if you think about it comparatively to them when it comes down to engaging with the world, yes, I am boring when it comes down to the quantity of going out. They see people 3, 4, 5 times a week. I see people once a week, once every 2 weeks. But when I do go out, I do fun things, football game, ballet, concerts. But because my battery is so low, so consistently, I guess it makes sense that we're seen as boring, which I'm okay with as long as these people leave me alone most of the time and as long as I still get invited to things. Having low energy also means that I have to consistently let people know that I'm willing to do things. As with all relationships, the more you say no, the less likely someone's going to invite you to do things. I am very vocal to my friends that I want to do something. Like recently, in a group chat that we have, I legit had to post in there, hey guys, I want to see Chaperone in concert. If she's ever in concert again, like let me know. I want to go. Like just something simple like that. It's if I really want to do something, I'm gonna put that in the chat room and let them know that hey, I'm still interested. I might not be interested in this artist, or this artist, but I am interested in this artist. There's so many systems that have to be in place in order for other people to be aware that we do have energy for certain things, but not for everything else. When I was younger, it was something that I just automatically assumed that everyone understood. I thought that everyone operated similar to me. And when I started caring, I had to create a system in order to make sure that other people knew that I cared. Or using extrovert sensing, again, feels like a drug most of the time. When you take drugs, there's a time and place for it. When you take drugs, there's always a come down. There's always, side effects, whether negative or positive. I've also noticed that it's easier to date when I engage with extroverted sensing because, again, that's one of the easiest ways to show or any clear indication to another person that you're interested. But I've also noticed that when I do seek relationships through extroverted sensing, it never really lasts because then I let my guard down and I become more like myself and they get confused. They wonder why I'm like that. So I created this system, which I think is absolutely funny. I introduced myself as the worst possible ever just so that they didn't have this expectation of me, high expectation of me in order to that I have to consistently meet. I put myself super low, so that the only place I have is this climb. I like that. I enjoy that because again, it removes any type of pressure in order to uphold the standard of myself that isn't really true to me. And also, having to put up this face, this facade, takes so much more energy than usual. I feel like I was rambling about this topic, but it's really an interesting topic as an INTJ because it's my lowest of my top four function. This is something I can write a thesis on. Why extroverted sensing, why dealing with the sensory world, why your physical presence matters, why creating the atmosphere matters in a sensory heavy world, in a sensory heavy place, not when it comes down to the emotion, why actually having things that look good matters, why dressing well matters, why looking a certain way, looking confident matters, why looking at someone in the eye matters. Like that's something that I've consistently paid attention to through my entire life. But notice I don't have enough energy to consistently perform in that aspect. Energy is scarce. I ain't got time for that. And when I do have time for that, I'm tired. As an INTJ, I'm just tired. I think that's all I really want to say for this topic. If you're an INTJ or any other type out there, please leave a comment below as to when not having energy have led to something extremely negative. Because I feel like as an INTJ, not having a lot of energy leads to a lot of issues. Final topic. I'm gonna be completely honest. This is the most difficult topic to talk about, so I might struggle a lot or it might be a short topic. I did make a video on it before, so watch that. I'll link it below in the description if you're curious about it. Emotions, overarchingly for an INTJ, is something that we are very familiar with. It's something that we live through as with any other humans, but it's not something that we like to express. Not only because it's very difficult to express, but also it's ours. It's our own. It's like being at the beach and building this sand tower. You're very proud of it and you're protecting it from the waves. You're protecting it from other people, wind, and all that stuff. It's ours. It's who we are. We are very proud of what we've built. It takes a lot of time to understand exactly how we feel about a lot of things. It takes even more time to be able to express it or to understand how to express it for thoroughly to someone else. It takes even more time to find someone that we trust enough to express that, and it takes even more time for us to actually want to express it to a person, it hurts us a lot because, and it goes both ways. First, we lack sending emotional cues to other people, so they have to infer how we feel about things. Second, because their inferences are usually incorrect. And this goes back to the first issue of being an INTJ. We're constantly misunderstood. But a lot of it is self-inflicted wounds. A lot of it's our fault because we don't give people the right tools in order to understand us fully. But that's typically on the realm of emotions. When it comes down to logic, I feel like we got that on lock. We will talk about what we talk about what we know, and that makes it easy. Human connection are based off of emotions. That's something that I had to learn real time throughout my life. Decades of experimentation, putting myself in very awkward positions just to fully understand how human connection works. And that's something that we struggle with. The struggle isn't to understand how someone's feeling. The struggle is to allow someone to understand how we're feeling. I have lots of extroverted feeling friends, ISFJs, INFJs, ESFJs, and ENFJs, and they all struggle dealing with me. They're always struggling to try to figure out who I am as a person, which I feel like I'm giving off everything that they need to know. But they always feel like they need more. And the easiest way that I can explain that is how introverted intuition for an INTJ works. People believe that they're giving us enough information to deep dive into something, but it's usually not enough. That's when the INTJ has to hermit mode and then figure out the rest. I feel like a lot of people have to do that when it comes down to an INTJ and emotions. Relationships have always been an issue. It's an issue primarily because it's so easy to be alone. For an INTJ, being alone doesn't feel lonely most of the time. 90% of the time, I could be stuck in my room doing whatever I want to do and not have the urge to engage with people. And I actually get that social satiation from just reading comments from people online. Honestly, guys, the comments that you guys leave to me feels like daily conversations. Like I know there are people out there who want to go outside or and be on the phone all the time, but I don't need that because I get that from reading comments online. It's such a fascinating thing to think about. It's like, why is it that it affects me that way, but it doesn't affect other people that way? My ENFJ friend, for example, she cannot sit still when it comes down to being social. She hates it. She hates just texting people and all because she needs that physical interaction with them. I don't need it so much. I only need it when we get to the next topic, which is energy. When it comes down to being INTJ, relationships will always be an issue because of emotions. The people that I deem closest to me barely know anything about how I feel about certain things or the depth of emotion that I feel. I think this is one of the clearest delineation between an ISTP and an INTJ, and I know ISTPs get typed as INTJs a lot or think they're INTJs. It's that as a perceiving dominant user, introverted intuition instead of introverted thinking, we're more okay with going with the flow because we don't care what other people think about us because we know how we think about ourselves. As an example, recently I met this INTP for the very first time and it was about Myers-Briggs. And we had this conversation where he straight up told me, oh, he has this system and how to type people, everyone else is wrong, but his system is correct. His system is right. And me being an INTJ, I'm like, okay, sure, just give me what you have and I'll think about it. He was reluctant on telling me, but eventually, INTJ, INTP conversation, we're one of the most natural pairing. It's so easy to talk to INTPs. But at the end of the conversation, he typed me as an INTP. For the very first time in my life, someone typed me as an INTP. To cut the story short, we got to the point of the conversation where I told him, okay, I might be something else. I might not be an INTJ, and I'm completely fine with that. And this guy couldn't fathom that. He couldn't fathom the fact that I am okay being another type if it makes more sense. For him, he actually got upset. I asked him, so if you weren't an INTP, would that change anything about you? And for him, it was his identity. He built things off of his TI knowledge, what he knew, and it would destroy him if that was incorrect. That's kind of how it feels being an introverted feeling user for an INTJ. If I were to express myself fully to someone and they reject it and tell me that I'm wrong, I don't know what I would do. This goes down to the whole I believe that I'm a good person, but if other people multiple other people that I respect tell me that I'm not a good person. They're probably right. As much effort as I put into to being a good person, if that's not how I'm perceived, then there's something fundamentally wrong with who I am. My actions are fundamentally leading me towards one way of being, one way of perception, which, if you go down deeper, that means that the reason why I do those actions, my moral compass, is inherently flawed. In relationships, I've been told that I don't speak up enough when it comes down to how I feel about certain things. And a lot of times I really don't care. The things I do care about, I guess I come off very aggressive. It's usually black and white. Hey, I really like doing this. I'm going to do this. You either come with me or you don't. People take that as rude because there should be more of a consideration for their feeling or something. But if I say I care about it and you say you don't care about it, why would I spend my time trying to convince you? I'm doing this for me. You're either with me or you're not. I try not to let emotions cloud my judgment. On a daily basis, again, I feel a lot of emotions, but it usually doesn't affect the way that I operate unless I'm in the mode where I should be expressing emotions. The other worst part about emotions for an INTJ, I hate this topic, but it's actually falling for someone or knowing someone's falling for you. I know I said in multiple videos that INTJs are typically oblivious to relationship advances, but the times that we are aware, it feels weird. It feels weird that someone's willing to accept us as their partner. It feels weird because we feel like they didn't think about it enough, or that they haven't seen enough of our flaws, or that maybe this isn't right because of what that person said this one time, and then we project it further in the future. Okay, that doesn't make sense. But maybe it was just a throwaway. Maybe it was just a conversation topic. Having introverted feeling and introverted intuition makes it so an INTJ is very, very creative with the way that we feel emotions, which is very different for extroverted feeling users. Extroverted feeling users are able to reflect how someone else is feeling. They feel it and give it back to them. For an INTJ, when we feel someone's emotions, we're not reflecting it. We are using introverted intuition to be there with them. We can imagine ourselves in that situation so that we could be there with that person, feeling whatever agony, shame, guilt, or any other negative emotion that they're feeling. Similarly, we can feel the exact same way when it's people are ecstatic, there's joy, hopefulness, or anything else. We do that when we need to, and we do that when we care about that person enough. But that is not a daily occurrence or that's not that's not a daily thing that we care about. My ISFJ friends and INFJ friends want me to express my emotions more. They usually feel like we're missing something in our relationship to make us closer than we already are. And me personally, I don't want to show that side of me because it just doesn't make sense to do it. I don't want to do that. People seek emotional connections by people expressing emotions. INTJs tend to keep our emotions relatively even keeled. Therefore, people have to make assumptions on how we feel. Because people have to make assumptions on how we feel, we get misunderstood. I don't know how I feel most of the time. And it's not necessarily because I have to logic it. It's because having introverted intuition as our primary dominant function makes it difficult. I don't know why I'm feeling something because there are multiple different reasons why I should be feeling another emotion. So why am I feeling this emotion? What's causing it? And once I figure out what's causing that to cause it? And then once I figure that out, what's causing that to cause it? I know this part's gonna be a short video. Ultimately, it comes down to being optimized. An INTJ that most people know lack showing emotions. We're not lack the awareness of emotions. It's that we just don't like showing it or expressing it ourselves. Most of the time, when you do see us expressing any form of emotion, even when it comes down to frustration, I know INTJs like to complain a lot, but we're usually complaining about the system and things not working out how it should be. And that becomes an issue. That gives us the negative stereotype of being a Debbie Downer. That gives us the negative stereotypes of being a robot. And also, it makes us recluse more so than we need to. It's that one meme where someone's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna step out the box. They get punched in the face and they're gonna go back in the box. That's kind of how it feels when it comes down to introverted feeling. And don't forget, as an INTJ, introverted feeling spans a lot of different places. We are not normal by any sense of the word based off of the society that we currently live in. If it was an INTJ society, I'd be the most basic bitch in the world. Yeah, guys, I don't know what else to say about emotions. Ultimately, when it comes down to emotion, daily struggle of an INTJ, it's very difficult to express emotions. We feel a lot, but it doesn't make sense for us to have other people understand what we're feeling. Before I end this video, I think this is the best way to explain this. If a person writes a character of an INTJ, but that character isn't willing to sit down with a lost little girl to make sure that they're okay and then for that child to get home, then they haven't written an INTJ correctly. We are very empathetic because we are so creative with our emotions, but that's something that we just rarely express. So if you think you know an INTJ, but that INTJ shows no form of compassion towards other people, places, things, animals, or anything, it's probably just not an INTJ. Thank you, everyone.